All right, let's look at this Portland Trail Blazers game tonight, hosting the Washington Wizards. And the first thing you see, it's not about the standings, it's just who are they?
It's severe volatility. I mean, you look at the recent box scores, and it's like watching two totally different teams.
Absolutely. We're not just talking about a few missed shots.
No, this is a fundamental shift in their whole offensive identity. You get that huge 127-point game against the Miami Heat. Everything was working, the spacing, ball movement, getting to the rim.
And then the very next game, it's immediate whiplash.
Right. Straight into a brick wall against Toronto. They couldn't even break 100 points, finished with what, 98?
Yeah, just 98.
That kind of swing, a 29-point difference, that's massive. It tells you their offense is, well, it's fragile. When it works, they look great. But if a team like the Raptors can muddy things up, they don't just struggle, they seem to completely collapse.
So tonight, the big question is, which offense even shows up on the court?
Yep.
And while Portland's fighting that internal battle, you look at the other side, and Washington is fighting a completely external one. I mean, the logistics for them just to get to this game, it's a nightmare.
It's the classic definition of a schedule loss before the game even starts. That weather in the Northeast didn't just cause a delay.
It moved their whole game.
Right, it forced the league to push their game against Charlotte to a noon tip-off.
Which, for an NBA player, a noon game is basically the crack of dawn.
It just destroys the routine. You have to understand, these guys are such creatures of habit. Their sleep, their meals, their warm-ups, it's all calibrated for a 7 p.m. start time.
So you play this intense game at noon, then you have to immediately get on a plane and fly cross-country.
The fatigue just builds. That's the kind of thing that shows up in your legs in the third and fourth quarter. So Washington isn't just game planning for Portland, they're battling pure physical exhaustion.
Okay, so you got Washington battling their own bodies and the clock versus Portland battling their own inconsistency. But there's one player narrative here that kind of ties it all together. We have to talk about Denny Avdija.
This is maybe the most interesting angle. Avdija isn't just being talked about as a good starter anymore, but as a potential breakout star. And it seems to trace back to one very specific catalyst.
It wasn't a coaching change.
No, it was a closed-door meeting.
And not just any meeting. A closed-door meeting in Portland.
That's the detail that stands out. The reporting is very specific that his catapult into stardom started right after that internal team meeting.
Which is pretty rare to hear about so openly. Usually closed-door meeting is code for a team falling apart.
But here it's being framed as the moment everything actually clicked for him. It suggests maybe a role was defined, a clarity that wasn't there before.
That brings it right back to Portland's volatility, doesn't it?
It does. If you're looking for an anchor amid that 29-point swing we were just talking about, you need a player who knows exactly what his job is every single night. If Avdija came out of that meeting with that kind of focus, well, that explains the breakout. It's more psychological than anything else.
So if Avdija is the example of that post-meeting clarity, he might actually be the most important player on the floor tonight.
I think so, especially against a Wizards team that you know is going to be physically drained. If he can push the pace early, attack those tired legs, he could really validate that whole star label. He becomes the engine that prevents Portland from stalling out like they did against Toronto.
So the whole setup is pretty clear. Portland has this incredibly high ceiling we saw against Miami. And Washington, well, they have the built-in excuse with the travel and that crazy schedule.
Yeah, but in this league, excuses don't get you a win. Washington has to find their legs somehow, or a focused Portland, maybe led by this new version of Avdija, is just going to run them right out of the building.
It really makes you rethink how we analyze these games. We spend all this time on X's and O's, on shooting percentages and defensive schemes. But if a player's entire career arc can change because of one single conversation behind a closed door, are we even looking at the right things?
It's a great point.
Maybe the most important adjustments in the game aren't on the whiteboard at all, but in those human conversations that we almost never get to see.